Welcome back to my channel. I'm Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit BBQ. On today's video, I'm going to be smoking up a Texas-style brisket, but with a twist. I'm going to be using mayonnaise as a binder. That's right, mayonnaise. Stay tuned. All right, let's get started on this brisket. I am going to be using a brand new knife that I just received from Dalstrong. This is their Firestorm Alpha series. I've used this and it is absolutely amazing. This knife right here is going to be a game changer in the way I trim briskets. Now, normally when I trim a brisket, I've got a chef's knife to trim the edges and I use a boning knife to trim up some of the silver skin. But in this case, this knife is so sharp that it's the only knife that I'm going to be using to trim up this brisket. If you guys are interested in getting a knife like this, check out the links below and get a very nice discount. All right, let's open this package up. I like to start right here on the decal because I'm going to be taking that off anyway. And then I make two cuts on the plastic, right here and right here. Now, all briskets do have a built-in handle. That's courtesy of Jason Ganal. And it's that decal, so you just grab it right here and you can lift the brisket out of the plastic. Just like that. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is remove this decal. Look at that knife, super sharp. And I'm gonna take off some of this fat off the top of our flat. This knife is super sharp, and what I love about it, it's nice and light as well, and feels great on the hands. Now you can get as aggressive as you want when it comes to taking off the silver skin, but these smaller pockets I'm really not too worried about. It's mainly the fat pockets on top of the flat. So that looks good right there. I'm gonna trim up some of this point. And all I'm doing right here is trying to make the point a little bit flatter so it doesn't have all these bumps, and round it off at the same time. Remember, think aerodynamic. All right, so that's all I'm doing on the flat side. Let me turn this bad boy over. All right, this 17-pound brisket has a really aggressive mohawk. So I'm going to take that down, starting on this side. Just lay your knife flat and take that mohawk completely off. You can leave it on if you want. A lot of people do, but I use this to make sausage. Another part of the brisket that often gets overlooked is right here, right next to the mohawk. Right as it's coming down, you have a heavy fat pocket right here. Make sure you trim that down as well. So here we go. All right, I'm going to take the edge off of this side right here, just to see how much fat versus meat we have. There we go. So I've got about ½ an inch right there. I do want to trim that down to about ¼ inch of fat. All right, so this brisket is looking really nice. One last thing is just to round off your brisket. Simply take a really sharp knife, go around, come around the other side, and round it off as well. Pretty simple. All right, so I've got the brisket all trimmed up. Let's season this bad boy up. Here is the star of the show. I'm going to be using some Duke's mayo as a binder on this brisket. And I do want to thank Greg Rempe from the Barbecue Central show for starting this trend. He's been asking his guests for quite a while now if they've ever used mayo as a binder on beef, and I volunteered to smoke a brisket using mayonnaise as a binder. Yes, sir. Look at that. Interesting, but I think it's gonna work. All right, let's flip it and apply some of this binder to the other side. So this is a little messier than mustard, but I'm liking it. You just want a thin layer too. You don't want it really clumpy, so you have peaks in the mayo. Just make sure that brisket is well covered. All right, I'm starting with some kosher salt as my first seasoning. Followed by some coarse black pepper. I gotta tell you, it sticks really well to that mayo. And last ingredient, some garlic powder. All right, so I want to season up these edges. We'll see you guys outside at my Yoder Frontiersman. Stay tuned. So I'm using Texas Post Oak for today's cook from Gourmet Wood Products. Check them out at Academy Sports and Outdoors. And I gotta tell you, these splits are the perfect size for my Yoder Frontiersman, AKA Pepe. And you guys know that he is not a small smoker. So let's light up this firebox. So I've got 6 splits of Post Oak stacked up inside my firebox. I'm gonna be using my grill gun from Grill Blazer to light these bad boys up. All right, just like that, we are lit. So I'm gonna let the smoker warm up to 275 degrees, and I'll bring you guys right back. So we are running at 275 degrees. Let's load up this brisket. All right, check out Mr. Mayonnaise. Point towards that firebox. Laying nice and flat. So the brisket's gonna smoke at 275 degrees for 4 hours. I'll bring you guys back at that point. Stay tuned. So we are at the 4-hour mark. Let's take a look at our brisket. All right, we are getting a really nice bark. Only 4 hours into our cook. I am really happy with that. You can tell I should have trimmed the point a little bit more right here, but that's okay. We will live with that. Even though that bark is looking really nice, I'd like to get it a little bit darker. So I'm gonna give this a couple more hours and I'll bring you guys right back. All right, so we are at the 6-hour mark and I've got the color that I want on the brisket. By the way, I checked the internal temperature. We're already at 190 degrees on the point and 189 degrees on the flat. So this is almost ready. Check out this awesome color. I have not spritzed this brisket whatsoever. I always spritz my brisket, but this surface has stayed nice and moist. So I haven't found a reason to spritz. So I'm gonna lay the brisket right here on the butcher paper. And by the way, I am using 2 sheets of butcher paper. I just folded the edges and overlapped them, giving me an extra wide butcher paper. So I'm gonna keep track of where the fat cap is. I wanna end up with a fat cap on top. All right, so our fat cap is down. Fat cap is up. And this extra butcher paper, I like to fold in half. Just like that. And tuck this on the bottom of the brisket. I hear a lot of people say that the butcher paper sticks to the brisket. Well, doing it this way, you have a few extra barriers of paper and it'll prevent that. All right, so I'm gonna go outside, pop this back inside the smoker, and I'll let you guys know exactly how long it takes. Stay tuned. All right, so 8 hours later, and this brisket is done. I gotta tell you, that Yoder Frontiersman at 275 degrees, it's 8 hours all the time. It never fails. And the internal temperature was 202 degrees. I do wanna take a look at it. Now I'm gonna rest this overnight for probably 12 hours, or hold it, I should say. at 150 degrees inside my PK100 electric smoker without any smoke. If you guys are interested, check out the links below and get yourself that PK100 smoker. It's an amazing smoker for sausages, but it doubles as my holding cabinet whenever I smoke briskets or pork butt. Oh yes. Check that baby out. Man, that fat is nice and soft. I can tell you right now that fat rendered really nicely. It's nice and yellow. So I'm gonna let the brisket cool down to 160 degrees. Then I'm gonna place it inside my PK100 smoker overnight for probably 12 hours. And we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. We'll take a look at this brisket. Stay tuned. It's been 12 hours and our brisket is ready to be sliced. Let's see how we did here. This paper is drenched. Remember, I didn't add anything to the wrapping. Oh man, it is tender. Check this out, really nice and jiggly. That's exactly what I was after. All right, let's slice into this brisket and see how we did. This bark is perfect. It's nice and soft. This is a good looking brisket. Let's take that money shot. Look at that. Super juicy, really nice smoke ring. This was only 8 hours inside my Yoder Frontiersman. Check that out. All right, let's get some slices here. One thing I did notice about using the mayo is that I got a really nice bark really early. And that rub is really glued onto that brisket. Grab one of these slices. Look at that. Super juicy, really tender, and it smells absolutely amazing. All right, let's slice into our point and see how we did. Yes, sir. Take this last slice right here. Get our burnt ends. All right, I'm gonna get a few more slices. And I'll bring you guys right back. All right, let's give this brisket a try and see how we did. First, I'm gonna try this point that looks absolutely delicious. Check that out. Super juicy, really nice smoke ring, and it smells absolutely delicious. Here we go. This is a darn good tasting brisket. So I'm looking for any hints of that mayonnaise flavor, and it's not there, but I can tell you there is something really silky and tasty about this brisket. I'm loving it so far. Next, let's try a burnt end. Yes, sir. That bark is delicious. All right, last but not least, let's try out this flat. Check that out. Let's check for tenderness. Oh man, perfect. There we go. Man, this is delicious. All right, so let's talk about this mayonnaise as a binder brisket. First of all, it is absolutely delicious. Number two, I cannot taste any of the mayonnaise on this brisket whatsoever, but I can taste a little something silky on the surface. And I'm sure that's coming from the mayonnaise, but I cannot taste the mayonnaise itself. I mean, check that out. You cannot fake this bark. It is absolutely delicious. So I want to thank Greg Rempe one more time for starting this mayonnaise trend, and I hope it takes off. If you guys have never used mayonnaise as a binder, I highly recommend that you give it a shot, and let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed this brisket video. If this is your first time to my channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Until next time, Joe with Smokin Joe's Pit BBQ. See ya.